All right, so just picked up this used Honda EU 2000i recently. I already have one of these and I've had it for many, many years. Love it. Had no issues with it, just maintenance and proper maintenance, and it's served me well. One thing you look at when you're buying a used one of these is, well, a couple things actually. You want to make sure it's got good gas in it and that it starts easily, because if you got a good one, they should just start on a pull or two usually, depending how long it's been sitting. Sometimes you got to work a little feel through the line, of course. One of the things that I asked the guy when I went to grab it from him, he said it only had 150 hours on it, and I said to him, well, and he went on to explain, what he used it for, etc. The little old lady in Pasadena story sometimes you get from people, but it was verifiable. And one of those things that I said, well, when you start it up, does the output indicator light, how many times does it blink? And that it's not for every year of these, but the one that I have and this one, and I'd have to Google to tell you the span of years that it's covered, but I do know it to be true, is this indicator light here. When you fire it up, and you can't stand over here, start it, and then look at that, it'll be done. You gotta either have somebody starting it or, make a video and watch it back, I guess, if you're by yourself. But for each blink, my understanding is, for each blink of this light, the output indicator light is 100 hours of use. And you can use that, for your maintenance schedule, keeping tabs on that. He estimated that it had about 150 hours on it before we had that conversation. And I explained to him, the blinking and indication of that. And he says, oh, I wasn't aware of that. I'll give it a try. And he did it before I got there, and he said he didn't see it blink at all. And I said, well, it might happen too quick before you were able to put your eyes on it after starting it. And sure enough, I started it up. When I got there, it fired right up. And he said, oh, it blinked twice. And I'm like, well, that's consistent with your estimated 150 hours. That would be 200 hours. And I don't know if it rounds up. I don't know if you have to go over 200 for it to blink that second time, but still, it's a low usage generator. And that's one thing you can definitely look for. The other things, obviously, you want to look for is, once it's running, is plug it in, plug into your outlets and make sure you got output that it's producing electricity for you. And, check your eco switch on off. This one, I bought the special adapter that plugs in there. It's a two-pronger deal, kind of in the shape of a T, one this way and one this way, one vertical and one horizontally. I don't have it with me here, I'd show you. I used it a couple of times, and my instinct is that it tends to overcharge a battery, that you could really cook a battery. And I could be wrong about that. I may be misusing it. I may not fully understand. It does have a circuit breaker on here. If it were to overload or something, it would probably trip that circuit, but I put a battery on there for a while one day and just checking in on it, and it got pretty toasty. And when I checked it with a voltmeter, it was a little higher than I would have expected it to be. And so I don't really use that much. And again, somebody may have chime in with, and educate us all on that, and that would be great. I'd love to know it. These, let's see, AC outlets, 120 volt. Anyways, I'm not trying to do a whole review on this thing. I'm just trying to share with you the kind of things that I look for when I buy a generator, not teach you how to use every button and knob on it. So the indicator light doesn't seem to be a very commonly known thing to people. So that's one thing. Of course, check that it's gas, make sure that it fires up, make sure that you got power output in these outlets. And in case you're not aware of how to check the oil or look for any leaks or anything, just same side as that pull starts on, and the choke's right there. You got a screw here. This panel comes off. And then here's your dipstick. You pull that out. When you do, it should be filled up right about to the bottom of the threads, or even maybe weeping out. And when I checked this, it was weeping out, and the oil was a little bit amber. I don't know legitimately if the guy changed the oil on it or not ever, or if he just felt it was coming due and hadn't done it. Like he indicated he hardly used it, that he used it on a job site for charging batteries and stuff for his cordless tools. But here nor there, I'm going to change the oil. But, just check that. And then while you have that cover off, look inside there and make sure there's no obvious leaks or anything. If it has a history of oil changes, it can be a messy process. So seeing some there, evidence of oil from a history of that, spilling, filling it, spilling, pouring it out, etc., overfilling it, whatever, that's not a deal breaker, obviously. if it's not using oil, burning oil, actively leaking somewhere, fresh oil puddling down in the, on the inside, pan, the inside of here, there's all kinds of ribs and stuff in there where oil would collect if it was actively leaking, and it would likely be low on oil if it was actively leaking, unless somebody selling one filled it like right before you got there, which is unlikely. If somebody's got a bad generator or poor maintenance history, things like that, they're probably not going to take the opportunity to mask that last second before you come, because they're probably have a tendency to be a little bit lazy. Anyways, so moving on. But another thing, while we're in here, your air filter's under here, and you can pop that off if you choose to. These aren't things that typically, when you go buy something used, that you do a deep dive on, but I'm just here, so I'll show you this real quick. And that's just a foam pad, washable. I actually did some damage there, pinching that out of there. I mean, nothing functional, but it's got a little bit of a gas smell. I suspect that's from me laying it on its side earlier to put the feet on the bottom. Wasn't a big deal. It fired right up after that. It was a little bit of a rougher start, but I think it's just because fuel inundated the system and oil was a little displaced temporarily. But I let it sit for a little bit before I started it. Anyway, so that's what's going on under there. Again, just quick check stuff, to see what's going on. If you were to pop that off, or thinking about buying one, and you pop that off and there isn't even a filter in there, or the filter's disintegrated, or soaked with gas or oil or something, again, not necessarily a deal breaker, but something to consider and maybe ask some follow-up questions on and see if you feel satisfied with the response you get. And the other thing that I did not check, and I'm now going to fix, boop, missing 2 feet on here. Didn't notice that when I fired it up in the driveway. It was a gravel driveway, so I grabbed a 4-pack of these off the old Amazon, and they were cheap. You can get them from like $5.99 to, I think, the average between $10 and $15 for most of them, but they're all pretty much the same. I can't imagine there being any difference. It's flexible like it should be. So we're going to pop those on. The bolts are still there for them. They just got torn off somehow. The rest of the case doesn't look all beat up or anything to indicate to me that it took a hard bounce or something crazy. I don't know, maybe it just got stuck under something in his trailer or back of the truck, and somebody got impatient and manhandled it out of there and tore the feet off. I don't know. Moving on. So that's it pretty much. I can demonstrate that blinking light for you. Let me do that real quick. I'm going to turn this thing around and get it going and show you. All right, so I just fired it up. First pull, it fired right up. So I just wanted to get it set up so you can see a good look at those lights, and I'll pull start it here for you. Hopefully you saw those lights blink. That's what I'm talking about. So anyway, so just a short quick video on the Honda EU 2000i. If you're thinking about buying a used one, some of the things to think about. Just in addition, you want to, of course, other than looking for the feet, make sure your knob and this is functioning well, and your gas cap, and there's a filter in there, a basket, whatever you want to call it, and that your choke lever's not busted off, stuff like that, and that it runs decent. When I fired this up, it sounded kind of rattly, vibraty, but that's because I got some tools sitting over here on the... I was going to demonstrate checking the outlets, but I'm pretty sure you can do that. You get the point. So that's it. Anyways, hope that's helpful to some people. There you go, and we'll see you on the next one.